there, I'm Rebecca Hardy and I'm in my studio on a musical journey to Spain. So if you'd like, you can join me and I'll present some music to you that I've really been loving, and with this heat makes Spain feel very relevant. So the first piece I'm going to play for you is by Isaac Albéniz. It was composed in the 1880s and it's part of the set called Suite Española, Opus 47. Now, so Albéniz actually took kind of a musical snapshot from a few different cities and regions in the country. And so you'll hear 4 of them today, but for this first one, it's called Granada. So Spain's music has a few different influences. First, you have the Byzantines, you have the Roma people, you have Jewish culture, and you also have North African Muslims that were a big ruling force in Spain for about 700 years, until 1492 actually. So in this first one, Granada, it's in the form of a serenade, so you'll hear different elements come back a few different times. And in Granada, in the south of Spain, in Andalusia, you'll hear a lot of things that are reminiscent of the North African Muslims. So you'll hear a few different modes where it goes from minor to major and back and forth. You'll also hear things about the Alhambra. The Alhambra was a palace, so it was originally a Roman fortification built long time ago, and then drastically renovated and updated by the emir, so the leader of the Muslims in Spain, and he turned it into basically a palace and fortification. So it was known for having these beautiful grounds. It had fountains, pools of water, beautiful luscious plants, and on the outside it was just this plain kind of red stone, which is kind of what Alhambra means. On the inside you also have the geometric tile and passages of the Quran and kind of geometric designs all around. So really beautiful place. In this piece of music, I hear the flowing water, and I hear some of the different modes being played, perhaps by some kind of a pipe or flute or maybe a clarinet of some kind. Has kind of an exotic sound to it. So this first one, Granada by Isaac Albéniz. next piece is also by Albéniz, and it's called Cataluña. It's in the form of a courant, roughly. So Cataluña is in the northeastern part of Spain, and Barcelona is its most notable city. It's a city known for having its own unique character. It's an area known for a lot of artists and musicians and a lot of education and great writing and just an exciting and thrilling place to be, it sounds like. So Albéniz took the form of the French-Italian courant, or corrente, and then kind of combined it with a circle dance that was very common in Catalunya. And so the circle dance would happen when people would join hands in a group and kind of make a circle and do one step that would repeat, and then we'd kind of slow down or change directions and something different would happen. So, but I think the circle dance is happening on a pirate ship because I hear the waves, I hear the tides, I hear some kind of adventure on this rolling sea, and you never know quite what's going to happen. So you tell me, do you hear pirates? this next piece is the Nocturne in G minor, Opus 37, number 1 by Chopin. So there's a couple different reasons why I included it with this program. First of all, it was composed on Spanish territory. So Chopin was trying to escape the cold, damp, wet of another Paris winter. He was struggling with tuberculosis. His health was not good. And so he's trying to go and be away in the sun somewhere. And so he went to the Spanish island of Majorca. And they proceeded to have the most wet, drippy, miserable, terrible situation for him. His piano took months to arrive. It was not a great time for him. However, he wrote this little set called The Preludes while he was there, and also things like this Nocturne. The second reason I included it is because we are on our Spanish trip together, remember? And I've had it happen where the weather does not follow my plans. And it will rain when I have plans to be doing things where it cannot rain. And so I really feel like the mood of this Nocturne mirrors my own when I'm staring out the window watching the rain pelt the glass and slide down as I'm wondering how much longer is it going to be raining. I have things to see, I have things to do, I have museums to explore, there's all kinds of cool stuff, but I'm stuck here waiting for it to stop raining. So I don't know if it's just me, but that's what I hear. we return now to pieces by Isaac Albéniz. This next piece is Sevilla, so in English, Seville. It's also in the south, in Andalusia, and it's really known as a very colorful region with flamenco culture, flamenco. So that's very, very influenced by the Roma people. So with flamenco, you can think of the ladies in the very, very frilly, ruffly dresses, dancing with tap shoes, often on their own, perhaps with a rose in their mouth. They'll be holding castanets sometimes, which are little hand cymbals, so they could do their own percussion. Every step is very marked, and you want to make sure you hear it, very dramatic. Often accompanied by a very, very virtuosic guitar player with all kinds of crazy techniques. They would also sort of tap on the wood of the guitar to build intensity, and Albéniz actually uses that. You'll hear that a few different times in some transitions. Sometimes a violin or fiddle would be included as part of this, and in the middle section there's sort of a tragedy or perhaps a love song of some kind, very vocally driven. If you are at all familiar with the opera Tosca, it's set in Seville, and even though it was composed 20 years or something after this, I hear a few of the characters in it. There's so much drama and so much life. So I really hear a very orchestral sound with this one, and I think you'll really enjoy it. It's my favorite of this set. this next piece is the last one from Albéniz that you'll hear today. It's called Cádiz. Cádiz is the seaport of Andalusia in the south, and it claims to be the oldest continuously inhabited European city. It was originally founded by the Phoenicians in the ancient world, 1,000 years before Christ or more, and then it was also a big part of the Carthaginian Empire, and just people keep building on that which is below, so every time you want to dig a hole in your backyard, you better call before you dig, or you're going to find something very interesting and possibly get in trouble if you don't have the permit. So call before you dig is a good thing. So in this city, the Bolero originated. So the Bolero is a dance form that's done either with a single person or with a couple, and it's known for its very intricate rhythms. There's lots of stops and starts, changes of tempo, slows down, speeds up, everything in between. The original instruments for a piece like this would have been definitely a guitar, possibly some drums, and you kind of hear just the energy of just a big city of people moving about and just not taking anything too seriously. finish up our set, I have a piece by a composer who was born in the Soviet Union and who is now an Australian citizen. Her name is Elena Kats-Chernin. These are the first 5 pieces from her collection called Unsent Love Letters. And it was written in 2017 as kind of a tribute to Eric Satie. So she's not Spanish, it wasn't written in Spain, and it's not about Spain. Why am I including it? Well, because you are joining me on a trip to Spain, I decided to include something that is very much part of the vacation or sightseeing trip aspect. So, when I go to museums, I wind up seeing a lot of paintings and sculptures and all kinds of stuff. And sometimes, well, it can get a little bit repetitive if you're not looking for certain things. So obviously you want to look and see, is this giving you the history of something, or is this noteworthy because of the artist, or is it something about the style being super cool, or what's kind of the point of the piece? And so you've got all those kind of normal things. And then you have these little I Spy type details to look for. And these 5 miniatures have titles that made me think of what I tend to look for. The first is Love Token. So looking at the person in the painting, do they have something in their hand? Or perhaps a special necklace for a child? Is it some kind of a toy? Is there something that was so important to them that they had to have themselves painted with it? So a love token. Second is Unsent Love Letters. It's fairly common to see people with books around them, maybe behind them on their table. Perhaps they have a quill or they're holding a scroll or parchment. It just gives you a little bit of information as to what text and what language they're surrounded by. The third is Behind Her Pearls. So I think it's really interesting to look at the facial expressions of these characters and see if they match the circumstance. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they really, really don't. Sometimes it's a portrait of it's supposed to be this person who's laying back at ease, and they just look like they're very angry at the moment. You just think, that doesn't fit. Or for a depiction of, say, Judith beheading Holofernes, and she has one hand on a sword and just kind of looks very peaceful while she's supposed to be hacking the head off of this giant. So it's just kind of something to look for. What does their facial expression match what they're supposed to be doing? The fourth is the Chat Noir, so the black cat, and that has kind of 2 different things. One is there's often animals in paintings, just like around the edges in the corner somewhere, and sometimes they're having the most fun in the painting. The second thing about the Chat Noir is it's also kind of the idea of a club, of a place to be at with other people. So trying to figure out the ambiance. Are people happy to be here? Are they even aware of other people being around them? What kind of atmosphere is this painting of? Is it the clamor of battle? Is it someone asleep? Just kind of something to look for. The last one is, I'll check. Threads of Gray Velvet. So this one has to do with noticing people's clothing, how they chose to be represented in this way. They couldn't just go and buy an outfit, they had to have it custom made for them. When someone was painting this, that every single line and color has been put in, they couldn't just use copy and paste. So whenever clothing, it's always done very intentionally, and so especially with portraits, to pay attention to that because they're trying to tell you something. And then also just the threads of gray velvet. So looking at, does everything look pristine and new, or are things coming apart? Are there things that lack perfection? Like you see that in the Dutch realism and the Dutch paintings especially, and then it kind of caught on to where you were looking at people's normal lives, and so the picture had a chip in it, and starting to see things that were less than perfect but much more realistic. So just a few things about being on a trip. So imagine this as the soundtrack as you're going through a wonderful museum in Spain. thank you for joining me on this musical trip to Spain. Now you probably understand why Stephen always needs a vacation after he takes some kind of big sightseeing trip with me. So, happy traveling. Someday we'll be able to do it again after COVID. There will be a time. I believe it. Alright, so tell me which piece surprised you, or what you liked, or which one made you think most vividly. And I will actually post some things in the description, so you should look at some pictures online of these different places. I think you'll enjoy it. Alright, thanks!